Hello, and welcome to the 12th episode of Studies in Shadow. My name is Jack Rogers, and as always, I am your host. And as always, I am joined by my amazing co-host, Noah Bazoo. Say hi.
Hello!
That's not what I told you to say. We talked about this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Say hi.
Please don't hit me again.
That's not what I told you to say either. Just say hi.
He's grabbing a bat.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. The Shining, anybody?
I was like,
No?
that's a movie. I didn't
Yeah, it's
remember.
Jack Nicholson, except I cut out the expletives. We're not talking about The Shining today. I just told Noah right before we hit record, I'm like, I don't have a title for this yet, so you're going to have to make... English. You're going to have to help me come up with that. This episode is about astral projection, or OBE. I was thinking about calling it like OBE1 or OBE what that can't be, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I'm like, it's too much of a stretch.
OBE stands for out of body experience.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you've heard that one, like, OBE, out of body experience, okay. And then astral projection is more like, I mean, we'll talk about the pop references with it. But we have a super cool treat for y'all tonight. Woo! We haven't gotten a caller since, what was it, episode 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was it? Ancestors, Ancients and Ancestors?
Yeah, and then we had one on the
2.
Shadow People.
That was episode 2. So
I
2
feel-
and 5. So now we're at 12.
From what I've heard, people are like, we like hearing the stories, and people are like, we don't really have topics for like these really demonic and evil things. And I'm like,
Well, give
that
us
makes
freaking
sense.
stories and we'll
Give
do
me-
an episode about
Yeah,
it.
do it.
Gosh dang. Do you have a story? We will make the episode about it. It doesn't have to. We only pick these topics when nobody reaches out to us. It's your fault.
A
I'm
lot
just
of the
kidding.
time people do, actually, which is nice.
To you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, nobody's reaching out to
That's
me.
when I'm like, hey, we should do this
Except
topic.
we did get this request for this topic from my uncle.
Ah,
He's
there
like, hey, you
go.
should do astral projection or what was it? Like mind sciences. And I'm like, what, like psychology? He's like, no. And he like explained all this stuff. And I was like, that sounds super complicated. We'll have to do that. And then he said astral projection. I'm like, I know what that is. We can do that real easy. So astral projection has made its appearances in several movies. Some of which being, let me scroll back to the top of my list. 1975's Psychic Killer, 2018's Astral, and then, of course, the Insidious series. If you've seen Insidious, it's a fantastic series of scary movies. I think the 4th one came out like 2 years ago. It's really good. Yeah, it's like The Last Key or something. And
I did not know
it's
that.
a prequel to the other ones, which kind of makes you sad because you're like, I want a sequel to what happened last, but it goes back in time. So anyway, yeah, so it's not like a crazy topic that nobody's ever heard about because these really famous movies have used it. Not that I've seen Psychic Killer or Astral. But anyway, so I'm almost hesitant to like talk about astral projection for ourselves because we haven't experienced it, but our caller has. He's a guy I work with. We call him the Versace Viking because he looks like a Viking, but he really likes these Versace glasses. And so I coined the name Versace Viking. He's like, I'll have to start an Instagram with that name. So
At the Versace Viking. Follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
yeah, we don't know if he has those accounts yet, so don't do that. You might harass the wrong person. So he has his own experiences, and he's described them kind of in detail to me while we've been working. And let me tell you, there's something else. Like, they're freaking awesome. I'm going to call him, I don't know what he wants me to call him. I'll wait until we get on the phone with him and before we start recording to see, like, what are you comfortable with me calling you? Anyway, you guys don't need to hear that.
Should we explain what astral projection is for those who don't
Yeah,
know?
okay, that's simple enough.
Astral projection describes an intentional, that's the key word here, intentional out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a soul or conscious called an astral body, so it's basically like your spirit, that's separated from your physical body, and you're able to travel around and basically be away from your body and see things in the realm of, like, I don't know how to explain it. The astral plane is what it's called. It's that, like, area between, I guess they explain, like, the afterlife and the living world, and you're able to go around there and experience what it's like. Mm-hmm. And so anybody can do that.
There is a fantastic book called Heaven and Hell by Emanuel Swedenborg. This was in the 1400s, and he would astral project. Oh, it's a thick book.
1400s.
Yeah,
Dang.
he would astral. He's like a Swedish dude.
I could tell from his name.
And he would astral project, and he would have all these encounters with spirits, angels, demons, and he would write them down. So he has this whole theology. Noah, if you read it, you'll be really freaked out because it's actually really similar to a lot of the stuff in like the LDS Church. Because people actually accused the first prophet of copying Emanuel Swedenborg for the theology because it's so like close. So yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I know. So I learned about it in my English class. I was like, huh. So I have it on my shelf right now. I have yet to read all the way through it, but I've read like a lot of.
I saw that there were over 100 books on this subject.
Oh yeah,
because I was trying to find ones that were like, oh, this is a really good topic. This is a great topic. And some of them were like self-help books where it's like how astral projection can rekindle the love with your spouse. And some of them were like how to communicate with the demons. And one was like how to just like feel young again through astral projection. And some of them were like explanations. Some are stories. Some are just like, I guess like the same thing he said, like more like a documentary about it. But over 100. I stopped counting after like 100.
This is also a multicultural belief and practice. There is the tantric subtle body. This is what they call the body, the kind of soul-like essence that leaves your physical body and goes to explore. There's the tantric subtle body. There's the Taoist diamond body. There's the Egyptian Ka. There's the Hindu body of bliss. So yeah, that's just a few. But this is like an ancient thing. It's not a new thing that hippies do. It's something that's like in manuscripts.
Well, obviously, this 1400s, you said a guy wrote
No, that's Emanuel Swedenborg.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it must not be
He doesn't give himself, like, a subtle body name or anything like that.
No, but I'm saying
but the practice goes back, centuries. Anyway, should we say anything else before we get my buddy on the line?
No, I'm excited to hear this.
Okay, awesome. When we come back, we will have my buddy on the line because I don't know what to call him yet. All right. All right, we are here with my friend Brennan. He consented to me giving his name on the show.
For documentation.
I don't use last names, but his first name's okay. Brennan, I like to call him the Versace Viking. He's actually in my phone as that now. Because he works next to me at the Sunglass Hut, and he really likes these one Versace glasses. I was like, hey, you're the Versace Viking. Didn't you say you wanted to start an Instagram account with that? Did I remember that correctly?
I've already got an Instagram account. I haven't changed my name to that yet.
All right, cool. Okay, so like I said earlier, Brennan has loads of experience with astral projection. Do you have a special name for it, or do you still call it astral projection, Brennan?
I just call it dreamwalking.
Dreamwalking.
That sounds cool.
That's so much cooler.
That's the name of the episode. It might be, actually.
We're going to incorporate that. We're just going to call it dreamwalking for the rest of the episode. All right, so the first question I have, Brennan, is when did this start for you?
I don't know how old I was, but I remember it being in the 6th grade when it all started happening.
Okay, and what was your first experience with it?
First experience was I was sleeping in the living room because I couldn't sleep in my room for some reason. And about 3:33, next thing I know, I am feeling my body convulse and shake, and I'm looking at my body all of a sudden doing that. And while that was happening, there was a weird spiraling like portal, I'm going to say, showing up with some laughter, and there was a face coming out with some hands reaching towards me.
Okay.
Freaky.
And that happened for a month straight, always at the time of 3:33.
The witching hour.
Whatever they call it.
My goodness. And so do you think this was like, this figure that you saw in the portal was like inviting you like, hey, here's this new adventure for you. Come on in.
Not sure what it was trying to do, but I remember trying to scream and do anything I could to wake up, and nothing was happening.
Yeah, there's
Except
like
for
this...
the moment he was about to touch me is when all of a sudden I woke up.
Man. Oh. So it's like there's this strange connection between sleep paralysis and dreamwalking. But it seems like the only difference is you can't move when you're sleep paralysis. But I feel like, do you think you'd still see the same things between sleep paralysis and dream walking? One's just you're able to move?
Yes. Except for I think I might be the anomaly, because every time I've ever had this experience, my body's always shaking and convulsing, but I'm able to move around and do stuff.
Yeah. So it's actually interesting.
And see my body.
It's interesting that you bring up the shaking, because a lot of what I'm reading is that there's this, you have to be on a special frequency. You start vibrating. And the more you vibrate, the closer you are to actually being able to like move and dream walk. So that was really cool that you brought that up, because I was like, I've kind of heard that before. That's super cool.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of cool. It's freaky when you're that young.
Oh, definitely.
When you're in 6th grade, I'd feel like you said, I feel like it was a bit. If you were older, I'd say it was a bad trip, or you might have been on something. But at 6th grade, I'm like,
it gets worse.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for him to keep going.
I'm looking forward to it, but also I'm like, man, I'm glad it's you and not me, because I'm just thinking about what I would have thought. I probably would have been put in a mental institution. Just I would have freaked out.
Yeah, that's either one of the things that I feel like you tell your parents immediately, or you wouldn't because you're afraid of something like that.
Yeah.
Were you afraid to tell your family?
Yeah, I never told them.
Do they not know still?
I think maybe my little brother and older brother do. Mm-hmm. I know my wife does.
Yes. Yeah, you've got some stories about that too.
Yeah, that one, that's been a little crazy.
Yeah, okay. So let's get into the real meaty stuff now that we have a good background. What has been your experience with actually dreamwalking? What do you see? What do you go through?
So sometimes, okay, before I go into that, real quick, we're going to backtrack just a little bit.
Okay.
The movie, I think, is called Insidious.
Yes, we talked about that. I brought that up at the beginning of the episode.
Okay. We'll do more on that later.
Okay, so with Insidious, at the end, how that guy was walking through that weird astral plane with all those ghosts or spirits, and then sees that demon with his kid.
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like that, except I don't go into a weird void like that. I stay in the room that I'm in. But then instead of like spirits and stuff and demons, there are instead cloaked figures.
Yes, you described them as sentinels, I believe, correct?
Yes. So in most dreamwalking, there is denizens that watch over the planes. Now, if they catch you going into a plane you're not supposed to be in, they will hunt you down. And if they get a hold of you and kill you while you're dreamwalking, you will die in actual life. That is, your connection is severed and you're dead. Now, it's a little scary to think of that.
Yeah, it's just like, that's
wow.
heavy.
Anyways, so anytime this happens to me anymore, which is rare, which I'm glad for, because it's not the best experience ever. But there's usually anywhere from 5 to 15 cloaked figures that show up.
Didn't I compare them to like the Nazgul when you were explaining them to me?
Yes. Yeah, so think of them as the 9 Dark Riders.
From Lord of the Rings. That's what we're talking about. If you guys don't know what that means.
But anyways, so a lot of times they come for me directly. Now, the scary part is I can touch them and they can touch me. I can connect with them and fight them off. Now, there have been times where instead of going for me, they will instead go either for my wife, and one time I've actually had to go to the upstairs and take care of one going after my 4-year-old.
Oh, that's terrifying.
There's one time that it was a few years ago, stuff with one of my exes, they came through a wall, and I actually punched one, and it left a huge hole bigger than my fist in the wall after connecting with one of them.
Yeah, that's intense.
Dang.
So I think the older you get and the more you do the dream walking, the stronger connections are.
That makes sense. Because, like, it seems like do you think you're almost more of a threat because you have more experience, you have more control?
Kind of. It's more kind of, I think, almost a mutual thing. Because they know I can harm them, but I know they can harm me if they get a hold of me.
Yeah. And how would you go about harming these denizens? I mean, do you just fight them physically, or?
Yeah. Just fight them as much as you can.
Roll up your sleeves, put on a ring, and say, "Put up your dukes, casuals."
My goodness.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Get good.
Get good.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Brennan's also a gamer, so we talk about video games quite a bit at work. But oh my goodness, a lot of that's what you've told me, but it's still just crazy hearing it again. I'm glad that I didn't have to just come on and be like, so I had this friend at work and he told me, I think it was this.
Yeah.
It's so much better actually hearing it from the source. So you said visually nothing's really different about when you're dreamwalking?
Not for me. Anymore now, it's usually in wherever I'm asleep.
Okay.
Sometimes it does get foggy and there's a different dimension almost, but I can still kind of make out the room, but there's other things there, like a different scenery, almost like in a woods or something, at the same time as being in my house.
Gotcha.
So what do you think is the farthest you've ever traveled while dreamwalking?
Honestly, I could not say. I know for sure, definitely traveled beyond my house, the plane of existence we're on.
Mm-hmm.
But the place is kind of hard to describe. It's very eerie, not very inviting.
Yeah.
To say. But I don't know where that one exists at.
Yeah.
I've only been there twice, and I never care to go there again.
I wouldn't either.
Was there a presence when you were there? Is that why you don't ever want to go there again, or just because it's really eerie?
Both. That's actually where I have received physical harm.
My goodness.
Oh.
And so if you're comfortable talking about it, what kind of physical harm have you received on that kind of plane?
So, you know how when you have a dream and you feel like you were stabbed or shot and you wake up and that spot hurts?
Yes.
I've had marks left there from that.
Yikes. That is like Insidious. That's pretty much it. The demon goes and leaves marks on him in his sleep.
I have literally had marks on me that I cannot explain except for what happened there.
Yeah. I mean, were you able to fight back, or was it kind of just like a survival thing?
It was survival. Like, I had to try and escape. There was no fighting these things.
Oh, my goodness.
Whatever they were not the cloaked figures. They were something else completely different.
What were they?
And it was, honestly, I couldn't tell you. They were pretty much shadows moving, crawling, flying.
Oh, no thank you.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's hard to explain them, but it was pretty much survival of trying to find a way out and get out of there and not look back.
How did you get out?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
You just kind of dreamwalked into a different place or woke up?
I was just there, was running, got grabbed, bit, stabbed, and next thing I know, I'm awake.
Yikes. Well, I'm glad you woke up. At least it wasn't serious enough to keep you sleeping.
Yeah, that I am grateful for.
So we've gone over a lot of dark stuff when it comes to your experiences. Have there been any positive experiences when you're dreamwalking?
I wish I could say yes.
Oh,
Sadness.
that's really sad.
I have tried, because there are ways you can dreamwalk without any of these issues. Like, there's ways that you can actually do other things.
Yeah.
If you do it enough, you can actually go and infiltrate into someone else's dreams.
Oh, Inception.
Interact with them there. And that's really when the denizens of the plains actually search for you, is if you infiltrate someone else's dreams.
Yeah.
Because you can manipulate them to how you want.
Oh. So so that kind of brings up a question. Do you think these denizens are inherently malicious or ill-willed, or do you think they're just trying to hold up some sort of higher ethereal law?
It's kind of hard to say. Because if you see one, you can't to escape. You can't just stand there to talk to them.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say if they're more on, the dark side, or if they're more on, like you said, trying to hold up a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
It could go either way. Maybe it's both.
Yeah.
I do not know.
And
I do not want to find out.
Oh yeah, because the only thing that makes me think that they're just ill-willed is that they went after your family, right? Unless that was like a warning to you.
Those denizens, it was probably other demonic denizens. There's no way for saying for sure.
I was gonna make a weird comparison. I know this might be really strange to say, but when you're just talking about we're trying to compare if they're good or bad and things like that, I couldn't help but think of like mall security. It's in, bear with me as I explain this, but it's they're walking around maintaining the order, but if you go somewhere you're not supposed to, they're like, hey, get out, and they'll either arrest you or they'll remove you from the situation if you're there after hours. They're good guys that are there to maintain order, but if you start to fool around with things you shouldn't, they're kind of like, hey, stop that. And who knows, maybe they're the kind of I don't know, entities that look for the bad ones that would harm your family. And if they see somebody fooling around in somebody else's dreams, they're like, hey, this must be a bad one. Let's take care of it. They don't know. I don't know if they don't know the difference or something like that.
Too black and white minded.
Yeah, that's what I think. They're there to maintain order. When they see someone messing with the order, they're like, stop. We have to stop them. I don't really see.
Yeah, I just wish they would do that when that happens to me.
Yeah.
Right? So has anybody else ever infiltrated one of your dreams?
No.
No, lucky. That's good.
Some thick walls.
You got some good walls up there, buddy.
I need to have him on.
The only things that can infiltrate, for me at least, are those that want to do harm.
Huh. Okay.
Now, why that is, I could not tell you.
Can you go a little more into detail about that kind of experience, infiltrating the dream of somebody who wants to do harm?
Well, they just come with the malicious intent to kill you or physically harm you. Every time the cloaked figures show up, they are always trying to harm me or someone in my family. And they make sure I'm aware that that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, because it doesn't really seem like something they would do out of the blue. I feel like it's they're trying to send a message, right?
Yeah.
And they can't send the message if you're not there to see it.
But, usually if they're trying to harm someone in the family, there's usually another one or two hiding somewhere to ambush me.
Oh, that's dark.
They're going after them, but in reality, they're still aiming for me.
They're baiting you.
Yeah.
That's really intense. So, okay, there's one question that I overlooked. I didn't ask it early on. What is your process now for going into dreamwalking? Is it an actual process that you have to go through, or does it just kind of happen spontaneously? What is your thought process?
It just happens, and I do everything I can to make it so I don't.
Wow. It's like it's like an unwilling ability. It's like you don't want it to be there, but it's there anyway. There
are some people who can do it willingly, and there are those of us who do it unwillingly and don't care to do it.
Mm-hmm. So the third season of my favorite Scary Story podcast just came out recently, and the first episode is talking about a guy who has he's called, in Irish lore, there's something called a thin place, and he himself is a thin place, and so he's an EMS or an EMT, so when people die, he always sees them, like,
oh wow,
yeah, he sees them all the time, and he's like, the person asking him a question was, I mean, do you like this ability? He goes, no, I'd much rather not have it because I don't have the kind of heart and mindset to deal with these freaky spirits. But
he was just died or something.
Yeah, I mean, he was born with it anyway, and it's freaky. And I can definitely understand why. I mean, any rational person wouldn't want to be forced into something like that, whether seeing dead people or being transported to places you don't want to be in. Actually running into physical harm, I think that's the worst part, and waking up and having it still be there.
Yeah. I just commenting on that, I feel like I'd much rather obviously have being able to do it willingly than just whenever I fall asleep, because I feel like if I was in your shoes, I'd never want to fall asleep if that risk was there. But like kind of touching on something you said, like I've heard story.
There are times when I'm about to fall asleep that I start feeling the sleep paralysis, the shaking, the visions coming on, and then I do everything I can to wake up.
Reverse the process.
And do something to reverse it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen.
Jeez. That is terrifying.
One of the last times I did it, there was actually a huge wolf glaring at me.
Whoa. Wait, before you jumped out of it or after you jumped out of it?
Both. So he was very prominent when it was starting to happen. When I got out of it, he faded away while running to me.
Oh, man. That's super freaky. It's like he was really close to getting you, and then you started to slip out, and then like made it mad.
Yep.
Was this kind of like a Fenrir wolf, or more like the wolf from Neverending Story?
Man, that would be a fantastic one if it was that one.
What? The wolf from Neverending Story is terrifying.
No, Fenrir is worse.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, because he's bigger, right?
Yeah.
Bigger, he swallows up the sun. It's part of the start of Ragnarok itself and the release of Baldur from his prison in hell.
Yikes.
All good things. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that'd be a big wolf. I'm surprised if it were Fenrir, if he couldn't reach you, I'd be surprised.
If he can swallow the sun, I'm pretty sure he'd be here.
Funniest thing of all is his father is Loki.
Makes sense.
So this is an Avengers level threat.
A little off track here on all this.
No, you're good.
Little fun facts.
My goodness. Well, I can't think of any more. Noah, do you have any more questions?
I actually did have a question. I didn't know if I was going to, like, this might be, like, a question that we can't really answer. But, like, what I'm wondering is, like, the astral plane where, you know, these experiences happen and you do your dream walking, or when other people, you know, when they astral project. What? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of explanations for this, but in my mind, I'm just like, what is it? Like, what is this place? Is it like, I know there's like descriptions of it being like a limbo or a place between like the spirit world and the living world. And
Purgatory.
It's like, yeah, like, but a really thin little layer between the two worlds. But like, I was like, for the life of me, after all the research I did, I could not find a purpose to it. Where in like most religions and cultures that I've like researched throughout my whole life, there's always a purpose to something being there, whether it's heaven, hell, purgatory, whether it's like, you know, prisons, whether it's different places, limbo, it's where things happen. What is the purpose of this place? Like, what is the significance of it? What's there? Why are there things guarding it? Like, if you can't answer that, that's fine, but I just want to know, like, your opinion.
Honestly, I have no way to fully answer that.
Yeah.
But I think if someone was able to stay there long enough and walk around and do stuff without getting harmed or killed, they would probably find some kind of lore or book behind what that plane is, what it's there for, why they are there.
Talk to the people, ask them, hey, where am I?
Yeah. I think for those who can do it willingly, it's a place of being able to escape our reality, find a different one, and try to fix things or explore and try to learn more of what's out there than what we already know.
Yeah. I've heard that it's kind of for people who can do it willingly, it's kind of a place of enlightenment. Like they're able to solve a lot of their own kind of inner turmoil in a place like that because they're not restrained by, earthly limitations.
They can look at themselves.
Yeah, they can look at themselves. They can think literally outside the box being the body. Have you had any sort of kind of like enlightenment or realizations from your experience?
I'm sure there was one, but that one gets outweighed by the many that have not.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
True.
If I have, I'm pretty sure it was a very enlightening experience, and I was able to do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't say for sure because, like I said, that one good is outweighed by all the rest.
Yeah.
But maybe something in my mind is blocking those good experiences to keep it from my knowledge and what I know.
Have you ever thought of undergoing like hypnosis with a what is it? Like
psychic or something?
No, not a psychic. I'm talking like actual like a psychiatrist.
Oh.
To go into hypnotic states and unlocking memories.
It terrifies me. But it terrifies me to do that.
Yeah. I'm sure the last thing you want is to be in a psychiatrist's office and then having one of those things come through the wall. That would be freaky.
Yeah, just a bit. Especially since at that point in time, I wouldn't be able to snap myself awake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're like lost control.
Because you've been, I mean, it's a willing experience, but you've been put in a very relaxed state.
So, yeah, no, I've thought about it, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll just kind of get sick of it and you're like, I want answers. And then you'll go and, maybe it'll be a positive experience, or maybe it'll be absolutely terrifying, and you'll never go into a psychiatrist's office again.
Let me get, older and more of my life out of the way first before I go and do something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
For sure.
Do what you gotta do first before you do what you want to do. Am I right?
Before you start risking your life and limb.
Yeah.
Mentally and physically.
And your soul.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, especially that one.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My motto growing up has been no risk, no rewards. But this is one of those ones I don't want to do the risk for any of the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even if you did unlock memories, who's to say that it'll be the positive ones? Maybe it's because, some people block out memories in the form of trauma.
Yeah, it's repressing.
It's repressing memories, and so then they go to the psychiatrist or a counselor or a therapist, like, what's wrong with me? I have all these deep-seated issues, but I don't know where they come from. And then a memory gets unlocked, and they're traumatized even further because they actually remember what happened.
Yeah, there's a reason you pushed it away in the first place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Either way, it would make a very interesting story. So who knows, maybe 30, 40, 50 years from now.
I will definitely get a hold of you guys to let you know.
Yes,
Fantastic.
Please actually do that. That'd be awesome.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you wanted us to know or wanted to add, Brennan?
Not that I can think of. Just, don't go out there trying to find this stuff out,
Yeah, and we say that a lot.
There are ways, and I'm not going to say how, but there are ways that if you've never done this before, there are certain things you can do that will allow you to do it. Just don't go doing that.
Yeah. And we do actually say that a lot. Like, these things are real. Just don't go out and search them out.
We're talking about it. We do not condone the actions.
But thank you so much, Brendan, for coming on. We really appreciate it. This has definitely been an enlightening experience. It's always great to hear from people who have really gone through the thing other than us just talking about it and what we've read on the internet.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for letting me guest star on the show.
Absolutely. I'll send you the link for the episode when it comes out, okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you at work, Brendan. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night.
All right, good night. Bye-bye.
Dang.
Right?
Some heavy stuff.
I know. That is super heavy.
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, if Nightmare on Elm Street was real, when he was talking about punching the denizens, I was like, I'm gonna need him when Freddy comes for me. Be like, hey, you can take him. You're better at fighting than I am. Mm-hmm. Isn't there a movie called, like, The Dream Warriors?
I don't know.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Warriors.
Oh, my goodness.
He'd be in that. He'd like come like Haymaker Freddy.
Haymaker Freddy?
Do you know what Haymaker is? It's a boxing.
No, I know.
Yeah, he'd do a Haymaker on Freddy Krueger.
Oh, you're saying Haymaker Freddy, like a different type of, I'm Haymaker Freddy. I swing my fist really wide so you can see my moves coming.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. No.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to hear from it, but at the same time, I get like a pit in my stomach. I'm like, why do people like do this to themselves? And I get the fact that he doesn't do it to himself, but I'm also just kind of like, my guy, like, you need to figure out how it doesn't happen, because if every night I was like under like if I knew that I was gonna have to like fight the urge to sleep or to go to the thin place.
I mean, that's what they did in freaking Nightmare on Elm Street. They just tried them to go to sleep.
Yeah, they took pills that made them not dream.
And they still fell asleep.
Well, they didn't have dreams, which that's actually a real pill. But it doesn't let you have dreams. If you have night terrors, people take those, and it doesn't let them have nightmares.
Well, in the first movie, she has her friend like watch over her so she doesn't fall asleep, and then
see how that works.
And then he falls asleep, and she falls asleep, and things happen anyway.
And they die.
Yeah. But while he was talking about like the denizens, I'm glad that he called them denizens instead of, what was I calling them? Sentinels.
Yeah.
There is this quote from Astral HQ. You can take this with a grain of salt if you want, but I like it based on what he said. Quote, when you separate your psychosoma, also called the astral body, with your physical body, you might draw the attention of spirits or entities who reside in the astral realm. Depending on who you speak to, these demons look different. And when I thought of that, when I first read that, I was like, this is just like Insidious, because they leave the body, they astral project. Because in the first movie, the little boy astral projects, and then demons start attacking him. His body.
Yeah.
And his soul, right? And trapping him.
I remember that. That was a weird movie.
Oh, I loved it.
It was good.
Great series.
Don't get me wrong. It was good. I feel like with the astral projection, a lot of the stuff, or the dream walking, a lot of the stuff that I've read about it was very positive, but like what he said too, the majority of it was very negative, where it's like, oh, I'm sure there's a lot of good things to it, but you got to remember what's out there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if you never go looking for it, you're not going to find it. But if you go looking for trouble, trouble will find you.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how it goes. And, I mean, Insidious doesn't have it, like, I mean, obviously they take liberties with fiction and how they, create their own world in it and stuff like that and their own story. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they're not too far off from, like, the things that I've read and the things that I've, like, looked up in terms of, like, demons trying to, like, possess you, but it's not as cut and dry as like them replacing you in your body. Mm-hmm. It's more of like
they can lash themselves onto you like a parasite.
That's exactly what it is. I was like, it's like somebody said,
steal your energy.
Yeah, they try to steal your energy, or they want to possess you. But it's more of like it's strange because like there's a few examples that I found about it. One was like they can totally replace you. And then they can, like, walk around and be you and pretend to be you, but then they have, like, really, like, malevolent ideology, and you're just left in this astral plane. Then I've heard other ones where it's like that, but if they ever fall asleep again, which since it's a mortal body, it will, you can just go back in. So at most you'll have to be gone for like a week or two or something like that, which would suck still. And then the third one was like, they leech onto you, they suck your energy away, or they kind of like, I don't know, like Two-Face basically. Like they can like tick, and like the moment they take control, they like have their own will and their own desires. They do their own stuff. Yeah. And then it switches back to you. But for the most part, what I've seen is they latch onto, like you said, like a parasite. And a lot of people, from what I've read, actually see like this like thing on them. Whether it's like in the astral world or in the physical world, they can like see something on them. And it's what takes it. It's what like leeches away at their life force. And a lot of older like cultures actually thought this is like not an astral projection thing, but they thought that's what depression was like a demon that's leeched onto you and was draining your life force.
That's what my grandma thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of...
She said I'm not depressed because I have chemical depression. She said I'm not depressed, but that I just have demons attacking me. And I was like, okay.
You're like, I'm pretty sure everybody does, Grandma. That's what temptation is. I'm just kidding. That's really intense, dude.
I know. I don't even know what I want to say anymore because he went over so much.
Can I say something else?
I don't even want to read this 10 steps wiki how to do astral projection anymore.
We were talking about that before it started, and I was like...
There's a 10 steps on wiki how on how to astral project. And it's so funny.
Step 1, be comfortable. I'm just like, it's like, please put your arms in the full upright position. I'll tray tables
uncomfortable.
Up. We're about to go into the demonic world. Please buckle your seatbelts, folks.
Please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. If you don't, a demon will bite one off.
And you might never come back.
My goodness. All right, do you have anything else to add, or can I close us off?
Oh, no, I have some things I want to talk about.
Okay, what did you want to say? Because we don't have much time left.
One of them is called... sometimes demons... sometimes...
Is this a stand-up bit or is it a fact?
No, it's a real thing. It's a thing I looked up and I didn't believe it. And then I looked it up a bunch more and I was like, okay, it's not just astral projection. This is like a legit thing, but it happens a lot with astral projection.
What, succubus?
Yeah, sometimes demons don't want to fight you. Instead, they'll like try to tempt you sexually. There's different cultures and different beliefs and different things where people talk about a succubus. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, it's like a demon that's like very sexually appealing to whoever looks at it, I guess.
Cool.
Like if you're a guy, it's whatever you want.
The room of requirement, but as a slutty demon.
Basically, and it's like way into you, and it's and it tries to seduce you, and like as it has sex with you, it basically like takes your energy. So instead of it being like, hey, I'm gonna latch onto you and drain you of all happiness, let's have sex in the astral plane, and then I'll drain you. And then the people, what it says is that, especially
such
men.
The worst use of the word drain.
Okay, you went there. I didn't. Anyway, it says this as well. It says a lot of the men, a lot more men than women will voluntarily go back into the astral plane.
Duh!
To go experience that again. And that's how the demons make them basically a lifelong energy giver, because the men, they're drained, but they can just go back, and then they willingly come back, and they're like, hey, let's get it on again. The demon's like, oh, of course.
She's like, is it heating up in here? Yeah, I think that's the flames of hell.
So if a demon comes up to you, I don't care how good looking it is, and whatever you're into, I guess it's just, your thing. Be loyal to your spouse, people. That's all I gotta say about that. I'm not married. I know, but be loyal to your spouse, Jack, even if she's not around yet. Just don't listen to it. If something's offering to have like intercourse or sexual relations,
we don't need a sex ed talk,
boy,
Noah.
Especially with demons.
If you do, we're gonna.
If you have sex, you will die.
Usually you put it on to get a banana.
What? That's not what I was going for. I thought
we don't need the demonic sex talk.
Boy, it's just the fact is you're a lot more sensitive in that state, and so if they're trying to like pull you in, you're gonna listen a lot more powerful. So just avoid them. You're laughing, dude, but it's about to happen to you tonight. You did this. I was trying to educate the listeners.
It's just such a weird thing to end an episode on. Demons want to have sex with you. Don't do it.
Boy, they do. It's how they take energy.
I know you said that.
Boy, it's genius too. Instead of like being a latch, they're like, hey, come back willingly.
Who thought that people could like seduce others for gain?
I mean, I thought of that.
That's happened throughout history.
I thought of that.
I'm not surprised that demons do it too.
I mean, I donate plasma, so I use my body for money.
No! Anyway, can I close us off?
No.
Noah.
There's something I have to
Oh
do.
my gosh, okay.
Ask me, Jack.
What?
Ask me.
What?
For my, you know what I want.
What's your Noah nugget of knowledge?
Yes. There are 336 dimples on a regulation-sized golf ball.
You really went for the random this time.
So now when you're on Jeopardy, folks, you can answer that.
Gosh. Okay.
And that's been your No Nugget of Knowledge for the day.
Okay.
Are you crying?
Kinda. All right. You can find Studies in Shadow on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and SoundCloud. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Username Studies in Shadow. For all inquiries, requests, and stories and submissions, you can send a message at studiesinShadow@gmail.com. Music composed and produced by Jack Rogers and Matthew Gonzalez. This has been Studies in Shadow. Thank you for listening, and be safe.